Good morning, everybody, and welcome our Tuesday mornings. Hello, hello. Today, what we're going to do is continue on with the trifold, and the package that we are covering in more description is on phase 3, our lymphatic and parasite. And that is the all cell nutrition in the back office if you go into Soul's back office. Last week, we covered lymphatic in detail. So this week, we chose to continue on and go deeper into parasite. So I have a couple of descriptions. Well, of course, first, I want to read what our emotional aspects going into, and I'm going to choose to use the word viral infections. And that goes into bitterness and ugliness overshadowing the beautiful and good in life. The belief that I get everything that comes along. So we need to go towards we get everything that comes along our way, not in a viral infection. Like I get a sign, okay, perfect example. I haven't walked in over 8 weeks. And so I walked yesterday as I've been exercising. And it was so funny because the person I walked with, I counted it on my hands. She said 9 times. I always get this time of the year. So that's what they're referring to is I get everything that comes along. But I want you to think of it in that a different aspect, in that what you ask for, you actually get, not necessarily that you want to get the sinus infection, the cold, or the hay fever, or things like that. And so another aspect is lack of joy flowing through life. And they both go back to bitterness, which is interesting because the opposite of bitterness goes back to warmth or delight or sweetness. So today, I want everybody, I'm going to actually throw the loop into going the opposite. Instead of, I was going to ask you to go ahead and journal. So as our prompt, it would have been, how do you fill in the blanks if I get everything that comes along? So instead, what I want to do is challenge you in the part of I apply sweetness to what aspect of my life. So the what is what you're filling out. I apply sweetness to blank in my life. And we need lots of sweetness in our life, and we need a lot of delight in our life. So how can we bring in sweetness and delight? And so I want to read the statistics of something that I've had since 2008. And it said estimated range from 25 to 80% of all Americans are infected with some type of parasite. Parasites may be indicated by chronic fatigue syndrome, Crohn's disease, digestive complaints, diarrhea or constipation, food and environmental allergies, Candida, unexplained weakness or weight loss, abdominal cramping, nausea, and vomiting. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to share my screen, and we're going to read, I think I got it right. We are going to read can y'all see it, or it's gone?
I only see white.
Seems white.
Yeah, I moved it from one screen to the other, and I said, wait a minute, it's not highlighting. So it said that it paused. Let's see if I can see, resume sharing. There we go. Look at me learning all of this. So today I wanted to give you like this visual of this bug sitting on top of the skin. And I know that we don't have a lot of, besides Becky, have a lot of Southerners who could, just really appreciate our state bug called the mosquito. And they would understand how parasites can truly be spread everywhere. So, oh shit, you're good. So the way in which it's spread everywhere is through bites. So, in just not to repeat myself, I want to go through these parts right here. And because this will repeat, but sometimes I find that if we repeat them, we're going to be able to understand them or start grasping it in the event that you can't. So let's introduce common parasites. We have our protozoas, a single cell organism ingested or transmitted by insect bites. Example, malaria. Hemimites, and that's a parasitic worm ingested by eating uncooked meats from infected animals. Example, tapeworms. Arthropods is insects and spiders that cause diseases. So that's ticks and fleas. So if we get bit by our dog's fleas, we can get these types of infections. And then the fungi, which is the spores and molds that can cause disease in humans in the form of yeast. Candidiasis is the example. So what I am showing you here is a website page that I have under services, and see all services, and you scroll down to the bottom of the page, and that will take you to this word right here called parasitology. And this is the page I just showed you. So that way you could navigate on your own in the event that you wanted to read, or you wanted to read it to someone else. Then my other page is going to be, I'm going to show you how I converted this article into a month long of, this is our June newsletter. And so it becomes a newsletter, then it becomes social media post. So this is how we created in order for it to run on our Nature's Link page. Parasitic infections affect millions of people in the US. So we're right back to this thought pattern of parasites. We have 4 different categories when we call this parasitology. So I wanted to use the proper term. So when we take classes at Trinity, they will refer to them as parasitology, and that these are the absolute categories. And here we are just explaining them again. And we have our 4 categories. So here in South Louisiana, through the mosquito, we will get one of 2 infections, which normally come from like an H1N1, the swine flu. I've known some people to actually die of some of these flus and absolutely get bit by a mosquito. And that's how they actually got it infected. And I'm going to turn around and repeat what Becky said. She said, since Ida has arrived, and Ida was a hurricane, for those of you who aren't, how you say that, tracking with Louisiana's weather, she said they're inundated with mosquitoes. So the protozoa, and here we have our little friend, he's coming in to bite. And this is how we get it: a single cell organism ingested or transmitted by insect bites. So it comes on us, it sucks our blood, and it absolutely, this is how it enters the lymphatic system and the bloodstream. So now you can get a visual so you can understand and see what we are talking about. And then here's the hemimites. And these are the parasitic worms ingested from eating undercooked meats from infected animals, or sushi, or if anybody hunts or has fished or opened up a live animal, it is, you may have possibly had to pull a worm or two out of that product. And that is exactly what happens in the part of how it becomes ingested. It's so funny. Y'all already putting, it's gross, it's gross. And I know we think this is gross. However, when you were raised with boys in a home, they just took all these little animals and, how you said that, put them all over you. When you go fishing, you put the worm on the hook because worms can make the soil more healthy. So, here's the two sides to a story. Then we have arthropods. So here's that wonderful spider. I know some people don't like spiders and they don't even like to look at him, but it gives you that visual of the insect or spiders that carry or cause diseases. And that's how, the ticks are going to cause disease, fleas are going to cause disease, and that is going to come from our arthropods. Then we have our fungi. And these are spores or molds. So any type, that's why they'll tell you if you're going through a Candida diet or you're trying to get rid of mold, that you purchase berries that are frozen rather than fresh, because the mold can inundate them and it could actually reignite something you may have going on in the intestinal tract. And then another form is how, the yeast that rises in bread, and whenever you come in contact with that. So a lot of people love to drink kombucha, but however, kombucha is an actual spore. So some people, I actually say how it actually worsens the condition instead of betters the condition, because you have to have a host, which is the fungus. You have to add sugar, excuse me, and you have to have a fermentation process. Some people can't handle that. So Candida is a yeast that lives on the skin in the mouth, the throat. So the mouth, it would be called thrush in a baby, or it would be, some people will tell me, oh my God, my tongue hurts. And it's probably a form of Candida. Then we have the one in the throat. So that would be when they would take a sample in the back of our throat and we would actually become out positive for, y'all remind me, what's it called? I can't think of it right now, but when we have the tonsils are all swollen and we have an infection. Strep throat. Thank you.
Oh.
Strep. And then we have it inundated in the gut when the bacteria is not in the perfect balance, and we have an overgrowth of bad bacteria versus good bacteria. And then we have it in the colon. So when I refer to gut, this is small intestines. Then we have the large intestines, the colon. And this could also be from the kidney to the bladder. We have a warm, soft tube called the urethra. It could be in there. It could be in the bladder. It can be in the vaginal area. So any one of these areas can be inundated. So with a baby, it could be that whole GI tract. And this is one of the many fungi that affect our health. So what's symptoms of candidiasis? So it's fatigue, joint pains, oral thrush, sinus infections, digestive issues, urinary tract infections. And then, this is funny, parasites, fungi, go away. And so here are all the ways in which that it can present itself in the body. A lot of people don't talk about the rectal itching. Whenever I'm around a child, I will pay attention how many times they will either pull on their crouch, their pants, or their the front area, or actually scratch, because that's going to be an indication that they have an overgrowth. And then the skin rashes, intestinal gas. So anemia, let me elaborate on anemia. When I look at blood work and I'm looking at a CBC, which is our lymphatic system. So a CBC is actually a snapshot of what's going on in our lymphatic system. So in the lymphatic system, we can have MCH, MCHC, and MCV. And when I look at those three numbers, if those are coming out of range, that's when I look for anemia. That's when I look for B12 deficiency. And oh, Marissa said she stopped making kombucha because of the reason of the Candida overgrowth, which is so true. And I'll tell that to people because of the fact that they really need to understand the whole concept of, when can we drink that and when can't we drink it? And some people will, totally disagree with you and say, oh no, it's good for me. And I'm like, okay. And if anybody wants any of these pictures, this ran somewhere back in June on my social media pages. You can just go scroll and steal them there. Or you can ask them for me and I'll get Holly to take off my, or if I send it in Canva, we could just take off my logo. So anemia is the part where we don't have enough iron in the blood and we have a B12 deficiency. It could be either one of them. So, and that means that the blood, remember that parasites live off of our blood. And that is because of the fact that we don't have enough of our own nutrients in order to rebuild the red blood cells. The abdominal pains. So a lot of times if a person goes eat out somewhere or they're having a lot of abdominal pains, you want to go back and ask yourself some questions. Did I eat anything that could have possibly been bad? And then here's that vaginal itching, but the vaginal itching could be coming from the urinary tract. It could be coming from a couple of other areas also. And there's that word candidiasis. So candidiasis is a significant concern to people with weakened immune systems. Now, remember why I'm saying this, the Candida with weakened immune systems. A lot of people have a lot of weakened immune systems today. And then it goes back to cancer and then HIV. I left HIV in here for a very good reason because we're going to hear more and more about how this came about and how there's some collaborations with another viral condition that's going on. And then diabetes, smokers, and anyone taking significant amounts of antibiotics or other medications. So I think right here, you're going to see a absolute correlation to the current viral conditions that we speak of in today, that you see that people with these conditions are the ones that'll normally end up, with major concerns. Let me say it like that. So how to prevent parasites from having your health? Cut out the processed foods, eat fruits and vegetables, balance the gut bacteria. This right here, this area where I'm going in is specifically why I have on and on and on talked about get the gut straight first, do Bella Health, walk into the fiber and introduce the fiber where we're going to be bringing in the prebiotics. That's why we have phase 1 and phase 2 is to prepare the body to be able to take in and start balancing out that gut. So that way, when we do the all cell nutrition, it's not a total shock on the body. And can somebody go straight into it? Absolutely. If you've been doing natural health, just go for it. Then we have the use of garlic and oregano and the new lift. I didn't have my actual rollerball, but the new lift has the oregano in it. So we can get that in from there. Get good rest. Make sure you're sleeping. Make sure you're going into deep sleep. A lot of people talk about REM sleep, but if we're not getting that 1.5 to 2 hours of deep sleep. We're not rebuilding, we're not charging, we're not healing, we're not getting ready for that next day. And then use supplements. And let's see, what's my as long as you live, keep learning how to live. So I just wanted to show it to you in the way in which that we just build different social media posts, and actually came in and wrote some more information here, and it just all ties into this article here. And this one is the part of where we introduce it, which I covered that, and then what are the different types of parasites, and then going into that candidiasis, because most people I see, it shows up as this issue, because all the rest of them, we're in denial of those issues. And then we went down all the different ways in which that you could turn around and make a change in the body. I am going to stop sharing my screen. I'm going to ask if we have any questions before I change over to the other part that I decided to do and I finished working on yesterday. If anybody came in early, let me find out first. Do we have any questions on the parasite aspect of this?
I had a quick question about when you said frozen blueberries versus fresh blueberries. Does that mean we shouldn't be doing the frozen blueberries?
No, we should be doing the frozen blueberries. You should stay away from fresh when you're really in a chronic stage. What you want to do is actually go more towards frozen, because what happens is right after they pick them, they flash freeze them in order for the freshness to happen, versus sitting in the grocery store and possibly having a mold that takes on. I worked in the grocery store for 27 years, and I've seen, the top case have mold on it and just inundate and contaminate, trays and trays and trays. So I've seen all of this of what I'm talking about right now firsthand. This is not me just telling. I mean, yes, it is in all the teachings, but I got to see it before it was like in books, which is, the part that you can bring that actual reality to things of how, like cantaloupes and things like that, that really mold very quickly, is not going to be a ideal food for people who have a weakened, like in that CBC that they have allergy markers. I kind of wait till all those markers are gone and we improve the way the immune system can handle these type of foods. That's how I tend to work with clients.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay. Any other questions? Okay, so
I had
go ahead.
Sorry,
Go ahead. You're good.
I was on mute, and my apologies.
Yeah.
We had some
I
contractors
saw you
here
talking,
today.
and I was like, I wonder if she's talking to me. She might be on the phone.
No, my apologies. We have some contractors working here today, so I'm a little off kilter. But the other day we had a great
no worries.
We had a great conversation about our current situation and the current virus, and how that is actually a parasite. And that was a really big breakthrough for me. And I was wondering if, for those who weren't a part of that conversation, if you could kind of talk about that, because we talked about how there's certain things on the market that are actually anti-parasitic that are helping with our current situation. And it was hard for me at first to make that connection between an anti-parasitic and why that would help our current situation. So I'm using vague language on purpose.
Thank you.
But I think that would be really beneficial for others to hear that as well.
So what I did was I had a text message yesterday, and it was a colleague, I'm just going to use that word, and asked a specific question of, hey, you spoke to another colleague, and she mentioned that you kind of helped her understand or explain something. Can you help me so I can teach this? So if anybody was on by 8:01 in the chat, I have written. So what is an antiviral? So we have properties of herbs, and there are many properties of herbs. And these are across the world. This is not just something that in America or just like you have classifications of a plant that go back to, botanicals. That is, so then you have a botanical that ends up with a chemical property. And so as an antiviral, a substance that inhibits the growth of or destroys viruses. That is the definition of an antiviral. And that comes from Carrie Boone, who is a renowned herbalist that lots and lots of people highly respect. And then anti-parasitic, and he's out of Australia. So just to let you guys know that. That may be why you don't find a book here in the United States. Anti-parasitic, a substance that inhibits the activity of or kills parasites, especially protozoa. Look how it even names it. It's a protozoa. So remember, if we go back, all I'm going to do is cross-reference for you so you can draw your own conclusions and see this yourself. So if we go to the word protozoa, it's a single cell organism ingested or transmitted by an insect bite, mosquitoes, bats, any type of bug driven area. And the example they're putting right here is actually malaria. And so it has been touted that there is a pharmaceutical that has these same properties, which I personally know a person who was going to a remote area, and he was in the military, and he ended up getting an anti-malaria drug that got him sick. So I correlated again and saying protozoa is a single cell organism ingesting or transmitting by insect bites. And then I put with this written an anti-parasitic herb in Omnitox. Our anti-parasitic herbs in Omnitox are barberry, clove, wormwood, wormwood is Artemisia anna. That is the botanical name. And then black walnut and pumpkin seed powder. So because I wrote that and that person collaborated with me to find out more information, I chose to finish a project that I had been working on. So y'all are going to be excited because I had been working on this for a very long time. I forgot to see when my first date was that I started. So this is the breakdown of an herb that we have, or a formula of our clarifying detox. So this is our Omnitox, and this breaks down all of the ingredients in Omnitox. I know we have covered all the properties of the different formulas, and Tiffany does an amazing job with that, and we have cross references that we could get anybody a YouTube channel and get them the link to see what when she covers the Omnitox. I apologize, I had a text from it's a long one, it's not a quick read. So I don't want to go into every single one of these. I really want to concentrate on two of them because of the simple fact that you may not have had it taught this way. And so the only thing I'm going to say about Mangista is this bitter. And remember that I cross-referenced that the emotional aspect is bitterness. So we need bitter herbs to break down bitterness in our bodies. It's an astringent herb. was traditionally used and valued for its help in cleansing and purifying the blood, the liver, and the lymphatic system. So that's all I'm going to say about Mangista. Cascara is another bitter herb. Remember, we talk about bitters, and it helps with peristalsis. It helps to relieve bile, but it also helps for the friendly colony bacteria. And then it goes back that it's for liver congestion. And then here we go with the jaundice and then the intestinal parasites. That's the only things I need you to concentrate on. However, I want to go through bentonite in a detail today. So the bentonite clay is a natural derived from the volcanic ash from Redmond, Utah. Bentonite is a very absorbent, means that it sticks to the outside of the structure. Usually because of the opposite ion charge. So remember, we always have a positive and a negative. I wish I had a battery to show you, because every battery has a positive and a negative. We have the black and we have the red. So if I get on my lawnmower and it doesn't start, I go mess with the battery charge. That's an ion charge. Rather than being sucked inside as with absorbent material, bentonites negatively charged electrical attraction for positive charge toxins. So toxins are a positive charge, where a bentonite clay is a negative charge. And radiation gives to the absorbing quality necessary for attracting and neutralizing these poisons in the intestinal tract. This action helps purify the blood and thus to enter the body. Another benefit of the bentonite is one that parasites are unable to reproduce in this presence of clay. Isn't that interesting? They can't reproduce. And that's the biggest thing, because I've worked with this situation for a very long time. And you normally had to do, it for 10 days. You had to take a break for 7 days or 5 days. And then you did it again because you had to go after the eggs. So in general, hydrogen bentonite is an effective and easily means which to cleanse toxins from the system. So it cleans toxins from the system. So bentonite helps relieve constipation and diarrhea and has been used as an effective colon cleanser. Bentonite has also helped to eliminate food allergies, food poisonings, mucosal colitis. That's what happens on the wall, is too much mucosis. And then the parasites, the spastic colitis. So that's when a person will have the cramping that comes with it, and viral infections such as stomach flu. So bentonite can be used for teeth brushing, applied on the eyes, or in bruising or other painful areas. Enemas and herbal laxatives are recommended when using hydrogen bentonite internally. So you can actually hydrate it, and you can use it if a person really has a severe gastrointestinal issue going on. Let me see. Any questions came up? I don't have my chat on.
Yes, because I think this came up in the chat. I have a kid that has chronic constipation. He'd kill me if he hears me say that. And even though I do my best with all the other things, just sometimes he gets backed up. Can I give him Omnitox?
Yes.
And what would be the best way to give it to him? Because he won't swallow a pill. He won't even try.
I would put it in a smoothie, in a very small one, because they're going to have a lot of bitter herbs. Y'all know that we're going to be having a baby, so I haven't like really looked at a lot of baby items. And it's so funny. My daughter tells me, she says, Mama, look at this neat little thing to give, the babies a liquid and all of this. And I started laughing. I said, maybe that's what I ought to mix and give y'all for the ones who don't take their herbs at this office. So that way you're going to take your herbs. They were rolling laughing. Okay, let's see. I'm going to learn how I taught the class on making it okay. This is huge when I almost had death by wine. Go ahead. Why don't you just go ahead and give us some examples? I can take a taste of water while you talk.
Okay. Chris was huge in helping me. I actually had this is where it's not always, we think that sometimes going organic or whatever is going to be better. I had a severe allergic reaction to supposedly a really good organic wine. And I've never had the allergic reaction before. And Chris put me on the protocol for the good track. I was taking it every single hour, like a dose every hour, and it just pushed everything out. And I didn't have to go to the hospital. I didn't have to go anywhere. But had I not had that, I literally thought I was dying. Like it was like it hurt to lay down. I was having a little bit of a hard time while breathing, like catching my breath and that kind of stuff. But and then after getting close to the 24-hour mark, when I had an Excel, that literally just kind of switched that. So like these things like really seriously push things out, because I was obviously having some sort of reaction, sensitivity, intolerance, whatever to that. But it, like we said, it just pushed it right out. So amazing. And I didn't have to put junk in me to get it out, right? Like that's what would have happened had I had to go somewhere. So
One of the things, she has a beautiful story. And one of the ways in which I learned something very powerful was with a Tide pod and a child that ate one. And it was profound because activated charcoal was what I used as a single. However, Omitox is always in my travel bag because I know that I can use that as a absolute way in which to avoid an emergency room if need be. If somebody drank too much, if somebody ate something that, gave them food poison or anything like that. And this part of it is going to help explain some of the questions that y'all are going to have. So wait till the end. But what I'm going to do is go in very detail on activated charcoal. And it's going to help you understand a lot of why the properties, in addition to the anti-parasitics and the antivirals, are going to work. So activated charcoal, homeopathic doctors have used charcoal for over 200 years. One of them's putting another thing about in Cancun when I gave somebody Omitox, and guess what? Though she expelled it. And that's the whole thing. A child will either projectile vomit it or they'll pass it through the colon, depending on how strong the body is. So they've used activated charcoal for over 200 years to absorb and expel intestinal gas. In fact, according to the article published in 1981 in the Science News, charcoal has been given a rate of 1 as a safe and effective by the FDA for acute toxic poisoning. Did you see what I just re-quoted that I just got off of their, areas? Charcoal is classified as an absorbent substance, which means particles stick to the outside of the structure rather than being sucked inside as with absorbent materials. Charcoal's unique electrostatic property, so we're back to that ion charge, and are developed during production. Activated charcoal is made by using a controlled burning of bone or wood, which is then subjected to an oxidizing gas such as air or steam at high temperatures. So we have it's called in the French, they would call it, oh shoots. I'm trying to remember the name of it, but we would have this black grease, which I have known a lot of companies to make black grease, but we had Cajun people who made it from scratch. And I actually have their recipe. And I have had several batches made, over the last 20 years, and I actually have used it for numerous amounts of properties in order to draw out infections. So charcoal has been shown to have more effective for drug overdose and poisoning than APECA. Charcoal reduces the amount of poison absorbed into the bloodstream from the stomach. Charcoal also significantly absorbs toxins in the so the intestinal liver. So it's the part of the liver where the nutrients come in. Circulation. So charcoal has been found to attain its maximum effectiveness of absorption within appropriately 1 minute, working instantly on contact. So charcoal has been found to attain its maximum effectiveness of absorption within approximately 1 minute, working instantly on contact. So that would have to be taken like as a liquid versus a capsule. Charcoal has been found to eliminate 50 to 75% of poisons, increasing another 10% if vomiting is induced by stimulating gag reflex with the fingers. In contrast, IPEC that can be taken as long as 30 minutes before vomiting begins and has been found to eliminate only 25 to 35% of intestinal poisons. Furthermore, according to the information public in the Archives of Environmental Health, activated charcoal forms a strong bond with absorbed substances, preventing them from becoming dislodged or reabsorbed in the body. So that means it's not going to be taken in through the bloodstream and brought in through the entire body. A list of substances absorbed by activated charcoal is quite intensive, but among more common overdoses of poisoning, treatings of, and I'm not going to go through all of this because it's just naming all kinds of, and this is more on the medical terminology type things, but it's going to go into any type of overdose is pretty much what's happening right there. Of course, charcoal is also a well-known remedy for diarrhea, intestinal gas, nausea, and vomiting. In fact, several studies have shown charcoal also helps relieve the production of gas by as much as 75%. Activated charcoal is also a good filter for absorbing cholesterol. A European study shows that 7,000 milligrams of activated charcoal taken daily for 1 month reduces LDL cholesterol by 41%. So I think that all cell nutrition pack with people with high cholesterol is a pretty good, or even the, I know in the back office, it's called the 14-day good tracks, but that could be used for 30 days also. Charcoal has been studied for its use in treating diabetes. Charcoal absorbs the glucose in the bowel, which enables some individual to reduce their insulin intake. To date, there have been no confirmed scientific findings to sustain the loss of, and I really want y'all to hear this. To date, there has been no confirmed scientific findings to sustain the loss of nutrients as a result of ingesting charcoal. In fact, research studies have consistently shown that there is either a loss of nutrients nor an interference in absorption of nutrients, even after taking charcoal daily for extended periods of time, because I've heard people say otherwise, and I sit back and I did not make any comments. Charcoal applied topically helps draw out poisons and other toxins from insect bites and stings. Poison ivory, skin infections and wounds. I actually have a salve that we make, and I have people put this on boils, on skin irritations, stings, and it absolutely works profound if somebody uses it right away. I always have some in at least my travel kit, my home, and my office. Care should be used in administering the charcoal poultice on freshly broken skin, like, in other words, as a tattoo, like a fresh tattoo that was affects the possible if the charcoal is absorbed below the dermis. Topically, charcoal poultices are only needed in the event of infections, inflammations, or swelling. So James Bach, who I own a lot of his books, and if you go to Trinity, you probably own his books, recommends taking 6 activated charcoal tablets, which is equivalent to 3 charcoal capsules every 6 hours until symptoms subside. The earlier one begins charcoal treatment, the less severe symptoms will be normally be. I'm not going to go into holy basil. I just want to turn around and recognize that Argon grape is in there, and Argon grape is a isoqualine alkaloid. I just want to bring that up. And then I want to go into barberry, which that is another bitter herb. And this one is going to, help with the bile production, help, with inflamed tissues in the digestive tract. Then we go into clove, and clove has been, known to help with a lot of tooth infections, different things like that. But we also go into expelling parasites and repelling insects. Colic, bloating, cramping, gas, muscle spasms, peptic ulcers. So you see that there. And then the wormwood, we're going to go back into, it induces, this is the part I wanted y'all to see. So it enhances liver function, promotes appetite, induces perspiration, expels worms, and acts as an antibiotic and an astringent. Wormwood contains azulines, which are anti-inflammatory, and quetiapine. I would need Allison to help me pronounce these. Lactones, which are the potent insecticidal agent. So these are the actual chemistry breakdown. Wormwood is highly regarded for abdominal distension, bloating, and amenorrhea, so that is menstrual cramps, anemia, gas, gallbladder, liver problems, gastritis, insect bites, intestinal parasites, poor appetite, rheumatism, sluggish digestion, stomach ulcers, swelling, tuberculosis, worms. Wormwood is not recommended during pregnancy. I did want to put that one in there. That's the only herb in here. Then we have our black walnut, which is going to go back to helping with the thyroid. It's very rich in mineral iodine. That's the important part in here. And this one's going to go back to intestinal worms and bruising. This is rich in selenium, and which contains that iodine. Selenium and iodine are very, very good for the thyroid. And then we go into the pumpkin seed, which goes back to an antiseptic. It's a great source of zinc. If anybody needs to know that, I made sure to put that in here. And pumpkin has been used for intestinal worms, parasite, and dysmenorrhea. So as you can see, I brought in a lot of components of a lot of questions that people have been bringing up to me lately. And what's a quality brand of activated charcoal? Amitox. Amitox. Any questions so far? what I'll do is I'll stop recording at this time.